This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
When an organization's leaders give informal but special attention to those with potential but less experience, it's often called mentoring. But can something so informal be organized? Yes, says Deborah Heiser, who leads just such an organization. Ms. Heiser joins us on this edition of Biz News Interviews to tell more about her organization, the Mentoring Project. Deborah, it's nice to be a mentor, but how do you get there? Do you have to be some guru sitting atop a mountain or what?
No, I'm so glad you asked that because most of us are mentoring all the time. We just don't realize it. So mentoring is both hierarchical, which is the kind that we think of, where there's somebody above us who is giving us their wisdom. And we usually can acknowledge that when we say, wow, that person's been doing something and helping to pull me up, or where we see someone below us and we know we're pulling them up. But there's a much more commonly used form of mentorship, which is lateral mentoring. And we do it all the time and we rarely know we're doing it. And so an example of that is pretty much all of our tech revolution happened based on lateral mentoring. So if you took a software engineer who then turned to his left or to his right or to her left or to her right and said, hey, I'm a hardware engineer. I need your software engineer skills. Can you help guide me and teach me what you know? And then that's usually how that happened. One would give their expertise. Neither was the boss, neither was above them, but that's how it happens. So this happens in terms of us calling a friend when we're in need. And it usually happens when we feel like we don't want to tell the boss we don't know what we're doing. So we call somebody outside of that line who's a lateral to us.
You disturb the boss on the golf course too.
Yeah.
When it comes to mentoring, you have taken it beyond that, though. You have founded a group of mentors. Tell us about that.
Sure. I'm one of the co-founders of the Mentor Project. We started with a few people, a group of less than 10, and we just thought we were going to sort of go to some schools and get some mentors into the schools and see what happened. It was really just for fun. That was it. And it moved from 10 to 60 to 80 to 100. And in the beginning, everybody thought that we were kind of just being a little odd. People said, no one's going to want to volunteer their time. No one's going to want to mentor students. They're especially really high level individuals. They're going to be too busy, kind of above that. And they couldn't have been more wrong because we have the top 1% leaders in their fields who are all mentoring and they want to. They give back. They've given back more than $2.7 million in mentoring hours this year alone, and we're not even done with the year. So our organization was built on, mentors who didn't have a way to connect with mentees. When a lot of people retire or they get to a certain level in their fields, we think that, boy, they must be hit up to become mentors left and right. But in fact, it can be a real barrier. They're too far away. They may not have children who are young in their lives, so they're not near other children. They may live on a farm, which was the case with Bill Cheswick. He retired and moved to a farm. There were no kids around to mentor. So that gap ends up being the same problem for mentors and mentees. They need to be connected. So the Mentor Project formed to connect mentors with mentees. And we've been doing it for 5 years now. And we're in about 5 countries. It's really grown quite a bit.
Tell us about your typical mentee. Are they kids or what?
I say kids loosely because I'm in my mid-50s, but it really can be anybody from 5 on up to graduate school. So you could be any age, really, as long as you're a student.
5 years of age? It
Yeah.
sounds like you'd be teaching them how to ride a bike without the training wheels.
It's interesting because we have a puppeteer who during COVID came on the screen just when kids most needed, it was right in March during the lockdown. And she came on and she was on for a long time, but she came on and taught the kids how to make the puppets out of like junk around the house, like garbage essentially, and then put it together. And then she would tell a story with that. So the little kids would come on screen and then we saved those videos and put them on YouTube, and they were able to be used not just when she was live with them, but also later. And so, yeah, we start as young as 5, and she's not the only one that's gone in with young children. Others have too, but she was really long running. She made it into libraries around the country and in laundromats, if you can imagine that. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Laundromat, that's amazing. You're lucky to get people who are awake.
Well, imagine being a parent and you have your kids in the laundromat and they have a TV available that has entertaining things on it. That was what some brilliant person decided to do so the kids aren't just running around and it becomes a real hassle for everyone.
So tell us about the typical mentor. How old are they? All executives? Are they retired? What?
So we have a variety of mentors from an astronaut. We have 2 astrophysicists. We have well-known artists. We have business leaders, entrepreneurs, inventors, innovators. We have a whole host of individuals who are our mentors. And so what's the neat thing is that they can talk to students who are at any level. So graduate school on down to young students. We have executives also.
Deborah, what got you interested in this in the first place?
It's interesting. It was not a straight path. It wasn't like I was like, wow, mentoring is the thing to do. I'm an aging specialist, so I'm an applied developmental psychologist, and I was studying everything no one wants to have or get, like frailty. I was studying palliative care. I was studying and researching this. This was what my job was every day, looking at everything no one wants. And so I went to a conference and was really feeling like I was like, man, I'm awesome. I'm publishing this book on end of life care and all this stuff. And so I was like, wow, I'm going to be so impressive when I tell everyone what I do.
They
And
they
I
they were not inviting you for to be the cheery jokester.
right. So I went and I was excited. I was young, I was early 30s, and I thought, wow, everyone's going to want to hear about this. And somebody directly, and it landed flat. Nobody was excited to hear about it. And the person across from me said, what do we have to look forward to? It sounds like everything you're presenting is terrible. Nothing any of us would want. And I was like, what? You're right. So I had to go back to the drawing board and find out what it was that I wanted to look forward to in life. Like, what was it that I was missing? And so I found out that I was looking at our physical trajectory, which, has a steep incline and then a slow, steady decline. And that's what scares everybody. Like nobody wants to talk to an aging specialist if they're thinking about that. But what I didn't know and what was well researched, but nobody was talking about it, was our emotional lifespan. So you start at the same place at birth, but it goes up and it never goes down. So we can expect to be happier as we grow older. In midlife, we are built and born, just like walking and talking, to hit a life stage called generativity, where we want to give back to others. And I was completely taken with this. And so I looked at generativity. I said, why would anyone want to give back? Let me look into this. And Eric Erickson was the first person to talk about this, but it's been well researched after this. And Eric Erickson was a developmental psychologist who looked at all of the stages of our life from birth through death. And part of what he talked about was that we want to give to others without caring to get anything in return. And the way that I looked at that was Ebenezer Scrooge. We all know people who haven't done that. So Ebenezer Scrooge had everything a person could ever want. He had a mansion, he had people taking care of all of his needs, he made his own business, but he was miserable. It wasn't until he started to give away or give to others that he felt joy. And that's exactly how it works in real life. So the way we do that is through volunteering, mentoring, and philanthropy. And I thought, well, okay, not everybody can have a name on a building. And most people want to volunteer, but mentoring is a piece of you that you're putting out into the world. So it could be that you are passing on a value or a tradition in your family. It could be that you're passing on something that you learned from work. It could be anything. So anyone can mentor, literally anyone. And I was fascinated by that. So when I started to look at that, that's when I started to interview people and then ended up meeting people who mentored. And that's how we formed the Mentor Project. But that was what got me started. It's the first point in our life that that we can jumpstart our happiness. And that by giving, we're really getting. So that phrase, "'tis better to give than to receive," is true. That was where all of it started, was hitting on generativity and learning about that theory.
So how many mentors do you have now?
We've had more than 100 that have come through our doors. So periodically they take a pause. You know, one person went off to Harvard at 60 to go get an extra degree. You know, people leave for various reasons to come back. And so we've had more than 100 that have come through, which is amazing.
Are you actively recruiting mentors or mentees?
We're not recruiting mentors. We usually try to keep it really right around where we are now. And then as people leave, we'll take on a new one. But we are always recruiting mentees because our mentors really enjoy giving back. They give away so much of their time and enjoy it so much that we're able to take on more mentees. We've reached more than 100,000 mentees around the world.
How do you find them?
Mostly we will find them through either word of mouth, or they will come to us through a university, a partnership. A teacher will find out about us, in those kinds of ways. So it just depends. We got a call, for example, from a school, someone who runs a school in a small town in Tanzania. And we were able to send by plane a mentor, a well-known artist, to that town to mentor them in cartooning. And so it happened to be that they contacted us. And so we were able to give back. And that was 500 students there that they were able to mentor.
So what is your business plan? How are you funded?
Through through generativity, through philanthropy of others. We fundraise, we operate really. I will tell you, the amazing thing is that we started and we worked for about 3 years on $547. And that's because everyone was giving their time, everything, like everything. So we now have admin, and we do buy supplies for, say, the schools that need it, that are in, they don't have funds, things like that. So we will send an artist, say, with the supplies, maybe with t-shirts even, so they can feel like they're part of something amazing. So it's really through the generosity and generativity of others that we are funded.
Did you ever expect it to grow to this size?
Never, ever. And I was studying it. I was studying generativity. I was really looking at every bit of the research, even the Harvard longitudinal study, Laura Carstenson's happiness study. Even with all of that, I thought, really? Are people really going to do it? And I couldn't be more excited because I really thought it was just going to be 10 people. And that was it.
Well, if it was just 10 people of just a few years ago, where do you hope to see it 5, 10 years from now?
I'd like next year for it to be that we're giving away at least $5 million worth of mentoring hours, not just 2.7 million. I want to really every year double it, and I want to get into new countries every single year because I really think that we can impact students globally. And my biggest goal would be to connect the students everywhere. So this year we're trying to connect kids in Brooklyn with kids in Tanzania through the one mentor. So one mentor can change an entire a child, a community, and now we're hoping to bridge gaps between countries. So my goal is to get to as many countries and as many mentees as possible.
Deborah, over the years, you have been, I'm sure, mentor to many. What, as you look back on it, has been the most satisfying thing of that?
Of mentoring someone else?
Yes.
So I would say one of my most satisfying, a few of them are mentoring some of the students who came into the mentor project and then ended up becoming people who are running things. So one student is a young woman from Kenya, a college student, and her name is Dina. And she has been a mentee and now has formed TMP, the Mentor Project Kenya, where she brings students in and is now mentoring them and getting them into our program. And so that was really fulfilling to see that. I've never met her in person. We've been meeting for a couple of years now, and she's now leading a whole section of the Mentor Project.
Where can our listeners and viewers get more information?
They can go to mentorproject.org on the website, and they can find out all about what we do. And if you know of a mentee, someone who is a student of any age, 5 through whatever age, there's a button that says become a mentee. It's that easy, and we're free. It costs not one single solitary penny for a person to be a mentee.
You're making quite a difference to an awful lot of lives. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel really good because there's nothing more fulfilling in life than thinking that you made a footprint on the world. And I feel like I have a footprint in the world, and that makes me feel great.
You've been listening to the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. That's BIZGNUS.com. Thanks for listening.